Today on MWIRE Weekly, we'll be discussing Star Wars rumors galore, a possible answer to the final member of the Sinister Six, future X-Men plans, and our main attraction, our top 10 favorite movie supervillains. All that and more coming up on MWIRE Weekly. Thank you for joining us today on MWIRE Weekly. As always, I'm your host, Optimus Solo, and with me today is Nathan. Hello.
Hello.
And Fridley Sent. Hello.
Greetings.
And salutations. And today we are going to start off, as always, with our box office breakdown from this past weekend. A little bit of a surprise here, and that would be that The Amazing Spider-Man 2 only was on top for one weekend, and it was dethroned this past weekend. Not sure how many people saw that coming in, but Amazing Spider-Man 2 drops to the second spot this week, bringing in $37 million, which brings it up to about $148 million total. Neighbors, however, was the number one spot this past weekend with $51 million on a budget of $18. So I guess people were ready for a comedy. After that, we had Neighbors number one, Amazing Spider-Man 2. Rounding off the top five was The Other Woman in the third spot with just over $9 million. Heaven is for Real, right exactly at $7 million, was number 4. And Captain America, the Winter Soldier, drops to number 5 with about $5.5 million, bringing its total just about to the $245 million mark. Nate or Matt, were either of you surprised that The Amazing Spider-Man 2 did not hold at number 1?
Very surprised.
Yeah, I was surprised too.
And it wasn't really close. I mean, it was almost $15 million more than Neighbors did.
Wow.
As far as new films, Legends of Oz, Dorothy's Return, the animated film, brought in just under $4 million. Mom's Night Out brought just over $4 million. And then we had our first trickling into the theaters in 6 theaters for Chef. And there's a few other smaller films that just started coming out. But any surprises besides Amazing Spider-Man not being in the number one spot as you kind of look over the list, guys?
Well, I'm surprised if these numbers are correct that Chef made $200,000 in 6 theaters.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Like, if that makes it all the way out to us, that'd be really cool.
Yeah, really, I do want to see that one.
Grand Budapest Hotel still in there in the top 20, so it brought in another $1.5 million. Divergent still up there, so not too many surprises, I don't think, with the rest of it. Rio 2, Captain America.
Still in the top 5 after 6 weeks and with a major competitor.
Yeah, and that will probably change here with the next 2 weeks. Because we're going to see a lot of films drop out as Godzilla and then X-Men both come out in back-to-back weeks, along with some smaller films. So all these films are going to take a hit. It kind of brings up with the strategic planning of when movies are going to come out and what's either coming out right before it or what's coming out after it. And maybe some better plans could have been made for a few of these films. Transcendence, by the way, was taken out of over 1,200 theaters this past week, and it's now only in 500 theaters, so that can definitely be added to the flop list.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if the Legends of Oz if they get to show their budget.
Yeah, I don't know if they will. I mean, that film was so long in the making that you'd think it would have a little bit of a budget there, but I don't know how well that's going to do. It doesn't seem like the finished product came out as good as maybe a lot of people had hoped, because it didn't even beat Rio 2, which is in its 5th week.
Yeah,
and that's not a good sign for an animated film if you're not immediately the top animated film when you come out. And as far as the film that has been in the theaters longest, that would still be Frozen, 25 weeks. It's got to be almost done. So the other longest ones, you have Grand Budapest Hotel has been 10 weeks, Mr. Peabody and Sherman 10 weeks nonstop with 11 weeks, and it's getting, it's in the 90 million mark. That's kind of surprising to me. And I don't even know what the lunchbox is. I vaguely remember hearing about it at one point, but I've forgotten what it is. But that's been in theaters for 11 weeks. So We'll see. I think a bunch of those are going to drop out here in the next couple weeks. And if you're looking at the yearly numbers so far, we have some new moving and shaking going on there. The Lego Movie is at number 1 still with 253 million. Right behind it is Captain America with 244. Then number 3 would be already The Amazing Spider-Man 2 at 147. Divergent 145, and Ride Along clinging to that 5th spot with 134 million. So the superhero films are taking over, and we might see a lot more shaking in the next month, and some of those films dropping out completely. But for now, Lego Movie still reigns supreme. Getting into the headlines today, a little bit of news to get through before we get to our main attraction. First off, for those people that are following the Marvel Universe, and I know this is more of a TV news story, but it all kind of is all encompassing, I would say, when you're looking at the Marvel Universe. And the news this week was about another TV series for ABC, an Agent Carter show. And the article basically explains it that since Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has been picked up for another season, when it's in its hiatus next year, that they will kind of do this Agent Carter series as like an in-between bridge type of show. And the premise is that the show will pick up a year after Captain America, the First Avenger, and will follow Carter's career as a secret agent while Captain is frozen. Any interest in that show, Nate?
Oh, okay. I was like, wait, when did he get frozen again? I don't know. I wasn't too impressed with the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show, so I stopped watching it after like 2 episodes. But I don't know. I probably should have stuck with it, but mainly I just don't watch TV. It's really hard for me to do that.
Matt, what do you think?
I don't know.
Matt, what do you think of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and this second idea here?
I stuck with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. throughout most of it. I think I haven't seen like the last 3 or 4 episodes. It's just so repetitious, and it felt like at the end of the episode nothing had changed from the beginning of the episode. Mm-hmm. So I stopped watching it after like 6 or 8 episodes. Although I've heard it since the Cat movie, it's become a very different show, which you'd have to after the Cat movie. So maybe I'll go on Hulu and watch it and catch up. As far as this new show, when I read Agent Carter is going to get a TV show, I figured they meant her daughter or granddaughter, who is in comic book Agent 13, who was Steve Rogers' neighbor in the second movie. I figured they were finally going to start using her because they established that character a little bit. So when I started reading the article and it's like no, this is going to be set in the 40s, I was like, why? We got enough of the foundation of S.H.I.E.L.D. in Cap 2. I didn't finish Cap 2 and go, you know what, I want to know what happened 60 years ago. So
I didn't really have that feeling either.
We'll see what they do with it. I'm sure I'll watch at least the first 2 episodes to give it a chance, but I'm not stoked or anything.
I don't really. Again, it's harder for me to get excited about the TV series. Like Nate, it's just harder to keep up with the TV series, and especially if it's like what you said, where you don't feel like there's a lot of groundbreaking things happening episode to episode. It just kind of comes with just an episodic, snooze fest from what it seems like. As far as some new movies that might be planned or being planned, I know we had rumors last year of a TV series from this franchise, but now it looks like we might be getting a film from the Flintstones franchise. And this will be music to TFG One Mike's ears, to be executive produced by Will Ferrell, who he hates, and Adam McKay. So Seth MacFarlane was one that was supposedly doing the TV series that has been basically delayed indefinitely, but the idea of Will Ferrell heading up a Flintstones movie, obviously the rumors will be that he would probably be the voice of Fred Flintstone or the actor that plays Fred Flintstone. I'm not sure if it's going to be live action or what exactly the plans are for this, but I don't know. I'm not a huge lover of the Flintstones franchise. I respect what it did and its place in history as far as animated series go, but I don't know. I wasn't a big fan of the first live action film. I know, Nate, you liked it though, right?
Yeah, I watched it a billion times when I was younger. Man, I almost have that movie memorized though. Like my fiance was watching it recently for no other reason other than it was there. But yeah, it's good. Maybe that's super nostalgic talking. I don't know.
I mean, Hanna-Barbera has, like this article says, hasn't had a great run lately of turning their products into films.
Yeah.
So
the Yogi Bear,
Smurfs.
Who casts what was it? Justin Timberlake as Boo Boo? Like, why? Why?
That's a bad idea. I mean, I like Justin Timberlake, but that's a bad idea.
That's a bad idea.
But I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe if there was a right person to do the Flintstones, maybe Will Ferrell is that person.
The article supposed to be animated, by the way.
Oh, okay.
I think Will Ferrell is funny in most of the things that he's done. I don't know, maybe not.
Well, I mean,
I have differing opinions on him. Sometimes he's really good, and other times it's not really doing it for me. But I don't know. With something like this, I've never seen him do like a kids thing before, unless I'm wrong.
I mean, Flintstones is not entirely. I mean, kids was not 100% the demographic originally of that show.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's going to be marketed towards kids. There's no way it's going to be above a PG rating.
I would think it would be marketed much the way like Simpsons and Family Guy is marketed. But I mean, I'm more on board if it's an animated film, like Matt was saying, the article is saying. I'm more on board with that than them to try to do another live action. So, whatever.
I don't think it works live action, you know?
No, it doesn't at all.
I think it did. I like John Goodman.
I like John Goodman too, but I cannot agree with that statement.
Whatever.
As far as another franchise maybe getting a little bit of new energy in there, and I know a lot of people will be a lot more excited than I am about this. Apparently there is a new Power Rangers movie in the works. Go Power Rangers.
That's what it's called. Okay, I didn't get that. Okay, cool.
Lionsgate has teamed up with Haim Saban, and looks like, I don't even know if that's how you say that. Looks like they're going to be doing another live action film. And they, according to most people I've ever heard talk about the last Power Rangers film, that it's not going to be hard to beat that. But I didn't see it because I hate the Power Rangers franchise with a burning passion.
Oh, wow.
But
oh yeah, Matt, you didn't know that about Kevin.
I didn't. His look is somewhat tarnished to me now.
My bad.
Aww.
But hey, Lionsgate, they've done some decent stuff with some of their films lately, and they have they have a lot of experience with special effects and big budget films, so maybe they're the right people to do it. But I will not be watching this. But let's let you guys talk about it, because you guys are probably way more into Power Rangers, or were when you were children. So Nate, what do you think about a new movie?
I mean, the Power Rangers have. I never watched it past like the first series or whatever. Once they started getting into different, they changed the Power Rangers to different different actors entirely. I was like done. But I mean, I watched the first Power Rangers movie when I was a kid, and I had a lot of McDonald's toys from that time. And I don't know, it's nostalgic and fun, but making a brand new one, I don't see why. There's no are the Power Rangers even still popular? I don't even know.
I think they've had a resurgence as of late.
Okay, are they doing new episodes still?
Yeah,
that's nuts.
On like Disney XD or one of the channels you need to have 300 channels to get. But yeah, it's still going.
Right.
It will never die.
But I mean, like, I don't know, like. On the parts of the internet that I am on, Sentai stuff is huge. So like Kevin saying he doesn't even like the Power Rangers, and they've been like, are they even a thing? And me, I'm like, I know I could probably dredge up 10 guys that spent over $300 on Sentai merch in the last 4 months, like without a question.
Are they doing all new origin stories and everything, or what?
The article is kind of sparse on information, but I mean, if it were me, and I know it's never going to be me, I would just start over. Do the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and do it entirely high budget and do it right, and just forget Dino Thunder and forget Power Rangers in Time and everything else, and just get some of the actors to play cameos. I know the White Ranger went to be an MMA fighter for a little bit, and then came back and is actually on the current show as the Black Ranger, but he's the same character. Like
Tommy.
It's still Tommy.
Nice.
He came back and he rejoined as the 40-year-old Ranger. And I know the Pink Ranger, Kimberly. I can't remember her actress name, but she became an actress that did like 3 or 4 movies at least.
No, I'm with you as far as if they're going to do it, they should do like a big budget and put everything into it and start again at the beginning and make it. But is that franchise allowed to do stuff that looks like legit and realistic?
I don't know about because it's got all of its weird American Japanese things, and what is it between Bandai and Saban, and
yeah,
it's a complicated franchise to say the least. And I mean, the American toy markets for it were really weird for a very long time, and they've gotten even weirder over the current years, because it's like Bandai is a big toy maker in Japan, and they're a toy maker in America that's smaller. But then, does one of the toy companies here make the toys for one of the TV shows, for the older TV shows, or who owns the rights? Very weird, very complicated franchise.
Yeah, but I'm sure there's a lot of people that will be excited about this news because there are Power Ranger fans everywhere. So if this makes them happy, I'm all for it. I just won't watch it myself. Star Wars stuff. There's a lot of Star Wars stuff this week. Starting with a possible title for Episode 7, which I put no weight behind this whatsoever, but I wanted to bring this article seriously. I want to bring this article up for a different reason. The title being thrown around is The Ancient Fear. Star Wars Episode 7, The Ancient Fear. But regardless of if that is the title, is not the title, gets changed, whatever, the article makes reference to Max von Sydow's character as being the villain in Episode 7, and that I am 100% for.
He looks like he could do it, although I'm a little worried it'll be too much like a new Dooku.
Yeah, I don't want him to resemble any of the other characters, but he's obviously an older gentleman, and he could have some type of connection to the other films in some way. Maybe I don't know what exactly that would be, or somebody that was in hiding or whatever. I don't know. I like him as an actor, so him being the villain, I'm all for if that's true. But Ancient Fear, I could care less if that's a title or if it isn't. And then the other thing was about the spin-offs. Disney is planning to release at least 3 Star Wars spin-offs over the next 10 years. We kind of already knew this, but there was another report coming out from Iger, the CEO there, that the films would be released in addition to Episode 7, 8, and 9, and that basically it would be like an every other year type thing, or in the off years between the actual episode numbered films. It says Lawrence Kasdan and Simon Kinberg have been working on the stories and spin-offs for at least a year. I know there's been a lot of rumors that we would possibly get a Boba Fett spin-off movie, or like something following the younger career of Han Solo. I'd be all about that. I don't know, maybe I'm in the minority, but I like the idea of Star Wars spin-offs movies that don't necessarily have to do with the main storyline. Matt, what do you think?
I've read a lot of the books, and there's a lot of content there that I would love to see on the big screen. But until we see any Disney Star Wars movie, and then 2, see where they're gonna go with it, since they've already killed off the expanded universe, I'm hesitant to say I want it. But I mean, I want to see it, see what happens, see what they do with it.
Nate, does the idea of a Star Wars film every year kind of scare you?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like you could milk that franchise dry. It would be like, doing Call of Duty every year.
Or a lot of other video games.
Yeah. Generally, annual franchises are not a good idea. Like, the customers will start getting like they won't care anymore because it's so oversaturated. So hopefully they won't do that.
It's bad for multiple reasons, I think. Number one, like you just said, it oversaturates it big time and people will stop getting excited about it. Like I think one of the reasons a lot of people are excited about this is it's obviously been quite a number of years since we've had a Star Wars film. A lot of people, myself included, wanted this before they wanted the prequels. They wanted the what happens in the future before they wanted the what happened in the past. So I can see the excitement, but yeah, if you do it every year, number one, it's going to get old for a lot of people. And number two, and probably a bigger flaw there is you don't give anybody time to develop stories. Like, to me, that's not enough time to write good scripts. And I mean, obviously a lot has been written in the past on Star Wars and, you know, et cetera. But I just think if you're trying to pump stuff out every year, you risk the quality going way down.
Yeah, definitely.
You also can't lock in the same actors for everything. I mean, they've got careers that they've got to go around and do other things.
Right. So you'd have to be changing a lot of characters because there's not going to be many people that are like, yeah, I'll do a film a year for 10 years and do nothing else with my career. Although it would probably make them a good amount of money. So,
Star Wars is my new retirement plan.
I just want to be a recurring character in Star Wars franchise. And talking about how much of an impact Star Wars had, and we talked about this, I think Dan and I talked about this way back when, the domino effect of when certain movies are having a release date. And because Star Wars is scheduled for December 2015, and that was the exact same date that the Warcraft film was slated to come out, Warcraft obviously switched dates, and they moved to a 2016 release date instead of trying to combat Star Wars. The interesting thing is that the film is set to finish in like the next couple weeks. So Warcraft is going to be in post-production for over 2 years.
Man. Wait, it's all shot, you mean?
Yeah, the filming's almost done. Like, it'll be done at the end of May.
That's insane.
So they're going to spend 2 years, I guess, perfecting every CGI sequence.
Yeah, just like, wait until Star Wars is done.
But, I mean, I guess that's not a terrible thing if they're going to really perfect it. I think Warcraft has a potential to look pretty cool on the big screen, so I'm glad they're not trying to go against something that would just smash it.
Yeah. I was thinking about this. What Star Wars should do is, because there's a new rumor every week, they should just, probably about once a month, they should say, all right, we're going to come out in December. No, it's moved out to November. No, we're doing it in January. No, we're going back to December. And then, like, keep their own date, and then just move all the other movies away from that whole entire time. So there's this huge drought of movies, and then all of a sudden Star Wars happens, and everyone goes to see Star Wars because they've saved up all their money.
Because there's nothing coming out for the next month.
Yeah.
I don't know if it works like that, but it would be funny. I don't think they need to do that. They're Star Wars.
It's true.
They can be like, we're coming out in 2015, and people are like, okay, we're not coming out in 2015.
Yeah. I just like the idea of having this huge drought of nothing and Star Wars right in the middle of it. Well, I don't like that idea. I like the idea that someone would actually come up with it or something. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That'd be terrible. I could be a CEO of a terrible corporation.
I'd work for your terrible corporation.
Interesting that last week we were speculating on possible Sinister Six members, and then this week we get an article from Mark Webb, or from a discussion with Mark Webb, saying that he would like to introduce Kraven the Hunter to the Amazing Spider-Man series. Now, whether that would be as a member of the Sinister Six or possibly somebody in the third Amazing Spider-Man film, I don't know what exactly that would entail, but basically, when asked which unseen character he would like to bring to the big screen given the chance, his answer was Kraven. This is a quote: "I like the idea of Kraven, the Vulture, Ock. I always thought the idea of Mysterio was interesting, maybe Scorpion, but really Kraven I think is kind of interesting."
I like the hard firmness of Kraven is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So it seems like we might get him in some way, shape, or form in something to do with Spider-Man, whether it be that sixth member that we were speculating of the Sinister Six or not. What are your thoughts on him kind of leaning towards Craven, Nate?
Yeah, I like Craven, but again, Mysterio all the way. More Mysterio.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's interesting because he mentions Vulture and Ock, which they were both shown already, basically, in that clip from Spider-Man 2. So, you know, the only other ones he mentions is Mysterio and Scorpion besides Craven. So you'd think it would be one of those three at least.
I'm pulling for Mysterio.
Matt, what do you think?
I think at this point Mysterio is a dark horse that I want to win, but I like Craven. I mean, you know, if you were to go in my room, you'd see more Craven toys than Mysterio toys, which doesn't really say much. But I think he's an interesting character. He could be cool. I would like to see him on the big screen.
What about this? Like, if the plans are to do another Amazing Spider-Man film first, which I can't keep track of with all the rumors with this franchise, but if they were going to do just like not a standalone, but a individual Spider-Man film, and then they also had a Sinister Six film in the works, would one of these characters work better as the villain in just the like an Amazing Spider-Man 3 film, and then maybe a different character work better as part of the Sinister Six? Does one of these deserve more like just independent time on his own in his own film compared to being mixed in with 5 other bad guys in a different movie?
I really think that Mysterio would be way better of a singular villain than the Hunter, Craven. Like, just, I mean, you could do so much with like his backstory and stuff, and then Craven is just, isn't he just like a hunter that wants to hunt the huntliest hunters and
yeah, that's right.
You heard it here first.
But
he's like, Spider-Man is a good hunter thing. I want to hunt that.
Also known as prey.
Prey.
So, right. Words. Yeah, I mean, Mysterio would be cool.
Agree or disagree, Matt?
I think Mysterio needs to be solo first because his powers are really weird, whereas Craven is very straightforward. But I think like I would rather see a Mysterio movie because I want to see Mysterio, but I think he works better. You know, and then to go, we haven't talked about Scorpion at all. Scorpion's very straightforward too. So I mean, I think Scorpion or Craven wouldn't need a whole movie, whereas I think Mysterio would be best served with one.
I feel like the Scorpion would just be a retread of the Blizzard.
The Blizzard,
like the Blizzard, Blizzard Man from Mega Man.
Oh no, Ice Blade.
The lizard.
Yeah, or the Rhino. I mean, he's like halfway between the two of them. He's a dude in a suit, with the tail.
That's animal based.
Yeah, that's halfway between those two.
In other comic book news, we had an X-Men article, and you guys can visit the website and click on the link to get the whole, like, there's a video basically from the X-Men producers. A couple things out of the article. Number one, they were saying that another film with the original cast is possible, since obviously after Days of Future Past, the rumors were that Apocalypse, when it happens, won't have any of the original cast from the first 3 films. But the article is saying that they might have another film at some point. And then the other interesting thing was that their plans definitely included, this is quote, some solo efforts. I hope to see us do Gambit. Deadpool will eventually punch his way to the screen, I think. Thoughts on the should we be done with the original members of X-Men after Days of Future Past and just let that the younger cast take over? And thoughts on Gambit and Deadpool being a solo film in the future, Nate?
I don't know. Like, again, like if they use the old actors, make a good movie, it would be great. Like, I don't want to have an issue with that. I don't think any of the actors, except maybe, you know, Professor X and Magneto, blanking on names, but
Patrick
whatever.
Stewart and Ian McKellen.
There you go. I felt bad about Patrick Stewart, not so much about Ian McKellen. that I couldn't remember their names. But I love Patrick Stewart. But no, yeah, I mean, they're getting old, and it's kind of weird to see them being so old and whatnot. So, but I mean, if they can still make a good movie with them, then by all means, let's see more of them.
And which film would you be more excited about, Gambit or Deadpool?
I love Gambit. So if they do a really good Gambit movie, that would be awesome. Deadpool would be a weird movie because like Deadpool's whole character is like, let's break the fourth wall and make silly jokes, and it makes it. I think it probably reads better in a comic than it does in a movie, and I don't think they would go so far to take him completely out of the universe and be like, hey, look at this weird movie we're gonna make. If they actually do it that way. Because, yeah, like it would just be a weird movie if they actually did it the way that a Deadpool movie should be made. And I know that they probably would rather keep them all in the same universe so that they can have, cameos and spin-offs and stuff.
Matt, do you have any scripts in your desk drawer for Deadpool?
Deadpool. Well, I give you a scene where, like he turns to the camera and says something, like some Deadpool line, like, "Well, I guess Deadpool's gonna be a hero for this one," and then it cuts to like a camera behind a villain or something, or probably, just turns a little bit so that he's not looking at the camera anymore, and he's like, "Who are you talking to?" Like, and it's just like because like he's looking right at us when the camera's there, but the camera moves, he's not looking at us anymore. And you see, you're laughing. Boom, scene written. But as far as all your questions go, I want to say yes to all three of them. You just have to remember what they are.
Fair enough.
Although, when Nate was saying Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart were getting older, like when he first started that bit, I thought he was going to be like, well, Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen are the only actors I want to see again anyway, so the other ones can go out. Because that was my feeling.
That's actually, yeah, that's probably true. As long as I get to watch them hang out in random places around New York, that's fine.
Oh, yeah, because, I mean, Halle Berry's not bad. She also is not amazing.
She was great in Catwoman.
Oh, really?
Yikes. Also likes Flintstones, guys.
All of Nate's credit is going right out the window.
No. Did you read the script she had to work with?
She was great with what she was given.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I've tried watching that movie so many times, which is funny because I'm not a type of guy to stop a movie, but the copies that we tried all did not work. And it was almost like God was like, hey, I'm going to take this bullet for you. Because we tried 3 or 4 copies on 5 or 6 DVD players.
Yeah, it was weird.
And we got almost an hour into it at the most.
Yeah. Somebody was definitely doing you a favor.
Yeah.
I love when they say her name in the movie and you said that is not Selena nor Kyle.
Yeah, was that what my line was?
That's what you said.
That was over 10 years ago now, wasn't it?
That's a good memory, Nate.
Probably.
Nah, he's got a terrible memory, but that was just a good line.
In the world of remakes, reboots, and sequels, we have a few to talk about today. Michael Fassbender saying he is on board 100% to do a follow-up to Prometheus. The studio has not confirmed that that's actually going to happen or if Ridley Scott's going to be involved, but there's been a lot of rumors about it, and Fassbender seems to be on board with that. I actually somewhat enjoyed Prometheus. I know a lot of people hated it. But I'm definitely on board with seeing him play Ridley again. Or not Ridley, but playing his character's name with Ridley Scott at the helm, if that happens. Did you guys see Prometheus, either one of you?
No.
I haven't seen a single Alien movie or Prometheus. And I also think that The Flintstones is really, really good movie.
We just eliminated a few films from our coffee table, and then you're going to say that you've never seen any of the Aliens films.
Well, yeah. We had to watch Druids. That was important.
Matt, have you seen any of the Alien films?
I've definitely seen the first one as a child. I only have vague memories of it. I'm not a horror film, and I know that it's sci-fi action horror. But I definitely sit down and watch it. I don't know if you could get Amy to do it, but I would.
I'm not a horror fan at all, but for some reason I really somewhat enjoy these films. And I actually like Prometheus, and obviously that's supposed to be somewhat of a prequel to what happens later. But we should definitely watch all of those. Well, the second Aliens is really the best one, but we should definitely watch them. And I'd be interested to see your guys' take on Prometheus. It had some problems, but I'm all for that franchise to continue, I guess. It's not like my favorite franchise or anything, but I find it interesting. Talking about other reboots, apparently Lethal Weapon. Warner Brothers is reportedly developing a franchise continuation, and instead of Mel Gibson, we would be seeing possibly Chris Hemsworth taking the lead here.
Really? You don't like Chris Hemsworth that much?
I mean, okay, he does look like he could be Mel Gibson's son. And that is, according to the article, what would be happening is he would be the son of possibly Martin Riggs. Apparently the original producer is on board. Scarily, someone attached to the Fast and Furious franchise is apparently attached to direct. So
sure,
that scares
why
the
not?
pants off of me. And obviously there would be rumors abound about Mel Gibson and Danny Glover possibly being in there or not, but I don't know. We all kind of saw what happened with the Die Hard franchise. I know, Matt, you like the last one, right?
Yeah,
The one before that.
I was gonna say the Die Hard franchise had one bad movie that actually a lot of people really enjoyed. And it wasn't a terrible movie; it just wasn't very Die Hardy.
Right.
And then they immediately U-turned out of there.
Yeah, I think what the problem with Lethal Weapon is what made Lethal Weapon was Mel Gibson. And I don't know if they can capture the same feel and same atmosphere or whatever with somebody else. And it was the buddy cop thing, you know, Mel Gibson and Danny Glover, and I just don't know if that's necessary. I mean, I love that franchise to death, and I always wanted more movies, but now it's been so long that if you can't do it with Mel Gibson, I don't know if you should be doing it. Nate, you only saw the first Lethal Weapon film, right?
Yeah. So far, yeah.
So we still have...
Is that in our stack? Do we have all the others?
Yeah, I have all the other ones.
Okay, good.
I know there's the box thing with all three of them in it in the stack. I don't know if the fourth one was in there.
Yeah, I have all of them. So
okay.
I don't know. I just don't think it's necessary.
Maybe they're gonna do like they open up with like, Riggs, I'm taking your badge, like they always do in buddy cop movies. He's like, sure, I'm 60, I'm out.
I'm retiring.
And then like then there's like a moment where the chief is like, oh man, I actually wanted him to do that off the books.
And another article about a remake or reboot, apparently that is necessary to happen, involves the Toxic Avenger and also involves Arnold Schwarzenegger. Apparently during a recent junket for his movie Sabotage, he was asked about Toxic Avenger, and he said that he couldn't talk about the Toxic Avenger because it hasn't been approved, but apparently, for some reason, Toxic Avenger is a thing that might be happening, and for some reason it's possibly going to include Arnold Schwarzenegger, which really just proves that anything and everything will be remade eventually. Nate, what do you think?
I think if Arnold Schwarzenegger is the Toxic Avenger, it'd be amazing because they could just pick up, like, you know, I don't know when the last one came out, but they could just pick up right in current times and just be like, he's just super old now, and he still can't speak very well, you know.
I remember seeing the Toxic Avenger, and that's got to be one of the worst movies ever.
It's pretty bad, but it has charm.
So Arnold Schwarzenegger
like
being involved with it now seems like that would be a perfect fit. And another sequel possibly being made. We won't talk about it too much because I never saw the first one, but maybe some people will be excited about it. A Spring Breakers sequel, as announced. Second coming of Spring Breakers. Now, I know a lot of people wrote this film off immediately, but from everybody that saw it that I actually talked to or read about, the first one was actually pretty good, apparently, or better than it seemed like it would have been. So apparently it being as good, quote unquote, as it was. They are now going to be doing a sequel of Spring Breakers. I've just put it out there so people are aware of it, but I can't really discuss it because I know nothing about that franchise.
Yeah, I've heard the same as you. Like, it's good. It's a good movie. Everyone, you should see it, but I just haven't yet.
And then also, and I guess going back to some Marvel stuff here, the rumor here is that Marvel is planning a standalone Hulk movie after Avengers 2. At least that's what Lou Ferrigno seems to think, and he has been the source of all kinds of rumors. I mean, we've had 2 Captain Americas, we've had 2 Thors, we've had 3 Iron Mans. There's been talk about, some of those having more films. Obviously, Avengers is going to have its second film. Nobody's really said word about Hulk. Maybe this is just Lou Ferrigno wanting to be involved with more Marvel stuff. I don't know how well the first Hulk film did in this universe in the box office. I assume it did all right, but do you think there's a need for a second Hulk movie, Nate?
If they make a more interesting bad guy, then yeah. I don't know. I never thought the any of the the Hulk's bad guys were any good at all. Like in any of the movies or in any of the comics really that he's been in. I guess if they did end up making another Hulk movie, I would want to see Planet Hulk, where he gets thrown into space and then he finds a alien planet and becomes their ruler. That would be awesome. But I doubt they would do that.
I've always kind of I've never been a huge Hulk fan, so I kind of view him as somebody that needs the rest of them to be involved. Like I don't have much interest to just see Hulk as the main hero. So to me, I could take it or leave it as far as a second Hulk film. But hey, they've hit home runs on just about everything they've done so far. But so maybe this is their one movie that they can just chalk up to be bad, and then they can get it out of their system and move on. Or maybe they'll do it well, and everybody will love it again. Beverly Hills Cop 4 gets a 2016 release date, so Axel Foley will be coming back to the screens in 2016. I know we talked about rumors about that for a while, but it seems like it has a strict date now, and that would be March 25th, 2016. So for Beverly Hills Cop fans, circle March 25th, 2016 as a date that you might want to pay attention to. But we already talked about the possibility of that, so we don't need to get into it too much. As far as casting news, I know there was a big article this week about Transformers, so most people will be aware of this, but John Goodman and Ken Watanabe have joined Transformers Age of Extinction. Apparently, John Goodman will be voicing the Autobot Hound, where Watanabe will be playing the Transformer Drift. So also mentions that Peter Cullen and Frank Welker will be involved. So that's good. John Goodman's never voiced anything, I don't believe, in the Transformers franchise, so that would be interesting, and I like Watanabe, so cool, I guess. What do you think? You're a good John Goodman fan, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I when I was younger, I always saw him as like a bad actor or something. He was on Roseanne or whatever. He was a comedian. But man, the movies he's been making like throughout his career have been phenomenal. Like, he's a great actor. Yeah.
So I'm all about them getting great actors or great voices involved and stuff like that. But still a scary project, so we'll have to see how that all goes down. For people that are interested in the Point Break remake, apparently Gerard Butler has pulled himself from that franchise or that movie possibility, but Ray Winstone has joined Point Break remake, and he will be taking on the role that was formerly held by Gary Busey. It's been a long time since I've seen Point Break, so that doesn't mean a lot to me.
What was Point Break about?
It was like an FBI, it's been so long.
Okay.
Some type of FBI like action flick that it didn't resonate with me too much the first time I saw it, so I don't remember much about it. But I know some people like it, but it's just another weird one that they've decided to pick up and do a remake. I think Ray Winstone is good. So yeah, I guess that's fine, but it's got to be kind of hard to step into a role that was done by Gary Busey. So
definitely.
Point Break fans, I guess you can click the link and read about that. And the last casting news, another actor from The Wire joins the Fantastic Four. Reg E., and I don't know if it's Kathy or Kathy, will play Dr. Storm. He's best known for his role as Norman Wilson on The Wire. And apparently he's the latest one that will be joining in the cast as Dr. Storm, father of Invisible Woman and Human Torch.
All right.
So you got that going. We just keep getting more and more about the Fantastic Four, and we'll see if they can actually make a good movie with those characters. All right, getting into trailer talk. Not a ton of trailers this week, but we did have 6 different ones, as well as some new trailers for some films that have already had a few previous trailers. So we had new trailers for Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, A Million Ways to Die in the West, 22 Jump Street, and Maleficent. But brand new trailers for films entitled Tammy, Rage, Snowpiercer, Good People, and So It Goes, and Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day. Any of those catch your fancy, Matt?
No.
Wow, really?
No, I'm curious about what is going on with that Snowpiercer. It's like, hey, we got this train, and it's got a very strict social caste system.
It seems like that's going to be super heavy-handed with like social commentary.
Yeah.
It seems like that's
But then
that's the topic these days. It's all about movies that everyone is supposed to have their place in society and breaking out and rebelling against it.
yeah.
I mean, that's a classic theme that's been around for forever. It's just
All of a
it's
sudden,
getting
every movie is trying to do it, though.
yeah.
and they don't.
There's a rooster,
Chickens.
chicken or something.
That's I'm in a room with my girlfriend's cell phone.
But yeah, that was definitely interesting to have a whole world on a train.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like there's clearly another world.
The
Yeah.
frozen world.
Yeah, like
Else has been there.
oh no,
But isn't it done by like a kung fu director or something?
it looked like a kung fu style movie. Like it was just like, now 70% of you are going to die.
Yeah,
And then
open door.
kung fu starts.
That was very Emperor Palpatine.
That's good. I like it.
You will die.
Now, young Skywalker.
Nate, you have some thoughts on Tammy, right?
Oh God. Don't go see Tammy. Come on, seriously.
Kim Man.
It's the most like America movie ever. Like I was showing Kevin earlier, like I was like, you know what Tammy is? Go to Google search, type in America without the A, and then that's what that movie is gonna be like. Ugh.
It will, like I told Nate, it will do well because Melissa McCarthy is in it, and she's box office gold right now. So people will go see that just like they'll go see anything that Kevin Hart's in. So that'll work. Did I say Rage? Because what I meant was Taken featuring Nicolas Cage. We've seen Taken tried by, let's see, Mel Gibson.
Well, he did it first.
Yeah. But he did it before, and then he tried to do it again after Taken.
Okay. Didn't know.
Yeah, and then we've seen Liam Neeson try to do it multiple times now to recreate that. We've seen other actors, and now we get Nicolas Cage who's going to be trying to do the same thing. My daughter's been kidnapped, and I'm going to go crazy.
Was it kidnapped? I thought they just killed them all from the trailer.
No, they show them dragging her off.
Oh, okay. But no, like they should just call it Rage Cage.
Oh man, I would
That'd
go
be great.
see the Rage Cage starring Kyle Gass.
Kyle Gass, yeah.
Cage Rage.
Yeah.
And then Snowpiercer, which I call Divergent Rated R, which you brought up. That just seems like the same basic premise that we just saw, like you said, millions of times, but a lot more recently. I didn't know that was the look that they were going to go for Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day. I don't know what I expected that to be, but I didn't know that Steve Carell and all that was going to be involved. So, I mean, I don't know. I like some of the stuff that he does.
Yeah.
Good.
It looks like a cheesy kids movie.
Yeah. I mean, Good People might be worth a free watch at some point. If you like James Franco and what's the chick that's in that?
Oh,
Steve
yeah. I just, like, I saw the title Good People, and I couldn't remember watching that trailer. And now that you say James Franco, I'm like, yep.
Yeah, they basically have like someone in their house or a tenant or somebody dies, they get a bunch of money that's drug money or bad money or something, and they're trying to use it, and then people are coming after them. I think we've seen that too before, but yeah.
It's James Franco.
I guess
He'll be fun to watch.
that one looks interesting, and maybe this is too much of a nitpick, but it's like it was £200,000, which is roughly $300,000, and it's like I don't know, man. If I'm a drug lord making millions in the year, like that much, I'm not going to invest that much time. Like it's like how much money are you gonna get back out of this? Like usually you'd think that they would just blow it really quickly, and it's like, so what? You just shoot them in the head and keep going.
Right.
Anything for you guys for the additional trailers to those other movies that made you either more or less interested in those films at all?
I'm a little worried about Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't... I didn't get, like, the moment in the trailer where it's like, this will be cool because of this. It just seemed like, I don't know. It looks like... Looks like it's going to be a difficult one. It doesn't. There doesn't seem to be like a standout character or standout actor or anything really.
And interesting. Well, you saw the guy from Lost in there, right?
Which one?
I thought I saw the guy from Lost in there.
Was it Sawyer?
Sawyer. Yeah.
Was it Sawyer?
I thought it was.
But
cool. As we learned from the original Planet of the Apes, the second one wasn't very good there. So hopefully they can avoid that. But I
God,
I agree.
I don't think they'll have like telekinesis.
No, hopefully not.
And atom bombs and stuff.
I almost was partially hoping to avoid everything about this film until I saw it because I was afraid stuff like this would come out where it kind of does shake my confidence in this film a little bit. It had too much of the look of just your general, like, not really. I mean, they already dealt with the disease or the kind of cataclysmic event, save the human race type thing. But I don't know. It just looks too much like your typical survival type film, and there's a lot of apes talking, which I guess they had to eventually. But I'm not sure if this vocal like the voiceovers match what I was watching, but maybe that's just because it's a trailer. Hopefully it's not going to be disjointed like that in the film. Anything else, Nate?
No, A Million Ways to Die in the West.
In the dust.
I'm still in the dust. I'm still interested in it, mainly because it is a Western, but I don't know. I want to see it. I don't know if I would pay full price to see it. Like maybe matinee,
What about you, Matt? Any of those films pique your interest now more than they did, or less?
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't watch the new trailers. I feel like I'm already sold or not sold.
Yeah.
Like I didn't watch. I saw maybe a third of 21 Jump Street, and I wasn't attached to the old franchise, so I'm not super interested in the sequel. You guys can be angry at me, but I haven't really seen a Planet of the Apes movie in probably 10 years. And
That's fine.
From that, I don't really remember much.
Yeah, have you seen the most recent Planet of the Apes film?
The one that came out less than 10 years ago?
No, the one that came out less than 3 years ago. Shut up. I thought you meant any of the originals. I didn't know.
No, I meant any, period. Like
any of them. Gotcha.
Yeah, I have not. No, none of them.
Okay.
And then A Million Ways to Die in the West, I was very like, until the Doc Brown one, and I know it's just the one gag that I've already seen, but now I'm like, well, I'll go. Maybe. And Maleficent, actually I've been told by my girlfriend she has a date and a group of people selected to go see that, and if I want to go, I have to make my schedule work for that.
Wow.
So, I'll definitely be able to see that, I guess.
Well, if it doesn't work for you, I'll just take your spot. 'Cause I'll definitely be watching that one. Even if it ends up being bad or not, I'm interested in Maleficent big time.
I'm gonna have to see the original Sleeping Beauty because I haven't seen that before I see Maleficent.
Oh,
Stony silence. That's the sound that it has whenever Nate says he likes something that everyone hates. It's the sound of me saying, "Yeah, I haven't seen that big movie that everyone loves," and I can do it over and over and over again.
It's, in my opinion, it's probably the worst Disney princess movie there is. Like, Yeah, whatever.
No, because
I mean, outside of Snow White, of course, probably.
Snow White had the dwarves. I like the dwarves. Shut up.
Dwarves
I like Snow White too.
That is a
like
terrible,
dwarves don't
terrible
have mustaches. They can't be dwarves. I have a better dwarf beard than half of those, if not all of those dwarves.
That's true.
If you actually break down Snow White,
It's not a good one.
it is awful. But
Wait,
anyways,
what was? I don't know.
yeah,
Whoa,
that's a whole discussion for another day.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to be right back with our main attraction, which this week we're not actually looking at a specific film, but we're going to do something else. Hopefully that's just as fun. We will be breaking down our top 10 movie supervillains. So we'll get to that right after the break.
In a dangerous world,
Governments crumble. Chaos reigns.
in a treacherous time,
There is opportunity in chaos.
evil is a fact.
We shall succeed where they have failed.
Drax is on a quest for a supernatural power.
They know far too much.
And courage
Stop them. You're the only one who can.
is a phantom.
Somebody I already killed.
There are some who say he is only a myth. Soon they will discover the Phantom is real.
All right, thanks for sticking with us. Before we get to our top 10 supervillains from the film world, we will real quick talk about what we've been watching this last weekend. And together we watched, all three of us watched 2 films this Friday night because I did not have to work and I could watch both films. So we got to see, we started off with a I don't know how to describe that. I would call it a classic, but that's too much praise for that film. We started by watching a film called The Druids.
How is that even a classic? Where'd you get that word from?
Because it's old. I was trying to come up with some way that could say something good about this film.
It's like 12 years old. It's not even that old.
It felt like it was 30 years old.
Yeah. It probably is.
Matt, give us your sum up. What was the experience of watching The Druids?
Well,
Do a plot synopsis first.
No.
okay, so so it's based on some horistical events, some historical events. Apparently Rome once dealt with some druids, I guess, and this is dealing with that. Apparently, I don't even know. It's like, so there's a bunch of druids, I think. Druids is a terrible name for this movie. There's a bunch of guys in some robes, and they're all like, "We're an equal council." They're the Gauls, and they're all like, "Well, we should have a king." And it's like, "Well, I have a crown in my pocket. I'm gonna give it to this guy, and he'll be king." And then that guy gets shot with an arrow. And then Christopher Lambert's like, "That's my dad," only he's not Christopher Lambert because he's only like 5 at this point. And then he goes to grab the crown, and then Count Dooku takes the crown from him, so he has to bite Count Dooku's guy's hand or whatever. And then he grows up to be Christopher Lambert, and then he leads the Gauls in victory against Rome. Only he doesn't, because that never happened.
So it's actually called the Gaul in other territories.
Yeah, which is a way better name.
I mean, this could have been an epic story because it's basically about how, all the different the tribes of Britain, the Gauls, and all become united to try to fight against the Roman Empire. And it seems like it could have been like this epic film / historically accurate, and instead they went this route with it.
Yeah.
And when Joe Dirt's look changes throughout the film, and like that's the only way to know that he's aged is because his facial hair and his actual hair changes.
He grows more and more like Joe Dirt as the movie progresses.
And
he cuts off
being able to try to keep track of the length and the style of his facial hair and his regular hair is your only shot to somehow keep the timeline straight in this film.
It's Quentin Tarantino, man.
It makes Quentin Tarantino like look very easy to follow.
Yeah.
Like it literally there would be scenes where it'd be like, we should send the Gaul to defeat Britain, and he's like, I'll go to Britain and beat him. And then it's cut to he's got a mustache, and it's like, that was a pretty good campaign against Britain. Like, no, did that happen? Like,
the entire film is like them getting ready for or walking towards a potential battle with never a battle actually happening until like.
But then it does, and it's terrible.
Yeah, and then it does, and they just get destroyed. And then he just goes, I'm ruining this film so that nobody will watch this. And then he just goes and surrenders to Caesar. Yeah. And then it skips to a voiceover that says Caesar's assassinated by Brutus. But the voiceover literally does this. It first talks about Caesar being killed and then says, and 2 years before that, King Levigenidrix, I don't know what his name was.
King Vectrex.
But was killed on the same steps as Caesar just got killed 2 years later. And the dude's name is what? Vercingetorix. He's got the longest name in the history of the world, I think. But yeah, I couldn't follow. I didn't know where we were or when we were. It did give us like a subtitle that said where we were at one point.
At the very beginning.
Yeah, and at the very beginning.
And then like 3/4 through the movie, they did it again. And you're like, where was that the whole time?
And then you also get something that's not done usually in these types of movies. When they're getting ready for the one battle, and they didn't really want to fight the battle, so they just got all the women in the town to just go topless and distract the entire Roman legion.
Yeah, there's like nudity in this movie. It's all terrible nudity. It's the worst nudity you can possibly put into a movie.
It served zero purpose and wasn't all that appealing.
Yeah. Can you say anything good about this film, Nate?
Ouch.
It was amusing. It was amusing to watch Christopher Lambert wear such terrible wigs.
You know every once in a while you're trying to watch a film and there's so much noise and there's so much stuff going on, like in your house or wherever you're at, and that you feel like you can't really pay attention to it. This film had that feel, even if you were alone, with like laser eye focused.
Yeah.
Although there was things going on in the house at the very beginning of it.
And I at first was going to be thinking that was distracting from our enjoyment of this film, and then I realized that it made no difference. So then we followed Druids up with a movie entitled The Phantom.
Yes.
Nate, talk about The Phantom.
One of my favorites. Yeah, it's super cheesy from the 90s, like ultra adventure old, like it's kind of like they basically were like remaking serials from the 40s and into a current movie from the 90s. So I don't know, it's a fun movie, and I just enjoy the hokey atmosphere that it's created and whatnot.
Yeah,
I like it a lot.
I like Billy Zane, and I also like Treat Williams as the sinister
Xander Drax.
Yes, with a cool name.
Yes.
And I really didn't have too much of a problem with the Phantom and the Lost Skulls from the Indiana Jones film. Besides his ridiculous jumping ability at the beginning of the film. But other than that, no, I think it was good. And we talked about, a week or two ago, about the possibility of having a new Phantom film. And I'd be all for that. That'd be fun. It's fun. It's like Indiana Jones Jr., so it's cool.
But it's Indiana Jones in a big purple leotard and
with painted muscles. Which weren't necessary because they showed him topless and he was pretty muscular at that point.
Yeah. Oh, he's like Billy Zane is super ripped in this movie.
What did you think of The Phantom, Matt?
I'd never seen it before, which is interesting. Or at least if I had seen it, I'd totally forgotten about it. But it was a lot of fun. Honestly, I expected I went in expecting a really campy, kind of like Nate looking over at me going, ha-ha, and me going,
That's how I love movies like that.
Yeah, no, I know. It turned out to be a nice, fun adventure movie that's pulpy and not campy, but not too much.
Okay.
Which is funny because I do like over the top camp sometimes. Like the 1966 Batman movie is one of my favorites, but
Yeah.
you can do too much, and this one did not do too much.
And it had a legion of female pilots.
Oh my god, I wanted more from them. I sound like a total creep, I imagine.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. That was a really interesting take, and I would have liked to have seen more from them after, getting. I like fighter pilots.
Yeah.
I like Star Wars. I like dogfights, and they had a whole group of really cool fighter pilots, and then they were really cool for one scene, and then you get one of them the rest of the movie, and the rest of them are just gone.
But I would suggest that anybody that likes superhero films or stuff of that genre, I think that's an enjoyable film that you should check out. And there's some decent acting in it and some fun action and jumping off of planes and to land on horses and stuff. So a lot of fun to be had there. I would suggest it. I'm not going to say it was the greatest movie of all time or anything, but it was fun. And I'm glad we watched it.
It's a perfect word for it. Fun.
Yeah, fun. And hopefully this next part will also be fun. Instead of talking about a singular movie because we did not see any in the wake of Spider-Man and getting ready for Godzilla, X-Men, and Transformers and apes and turtles and all kinds of stuff, we didn't go to the theater this week. So instead we were going to give you our list of our top 10 favorite movie supervillains. And how this is going to work is independently, we've all come up with our list of 10 supervillains from films. Could be feature films, direct DVD films, TV films, whatever. And we're just going to go around the table here and start with our number 10, and then we'll work our way down to our favorite movie supervillains. There will be some crossover, I would imagine. Some people that might show up on multiple people's lists. But we'll see how it goes. Nate or Matt, who wants to start this whole thing?
Should we do a coin flip?
Yes, let's do a coin flip.
Okay. Tails. All right.
Okay.
I'll go.
All right. So Nate is going to start off giving us his number 10 favorite supervillain from film.
All right. Number 10. I chose the Joker from The Dark Knight, Heath Ledger.
And why did you choose him?
Because I felt like I had to. I wasn't going to originally put him on the list, but then I was kind of watching his performance in some YouTube videos, and I was like, he did do an amazing job. He needs to be on here. So I don't remember who I took off. I took off someone, and then I put him back. I put him on there.
And we will have a chance to talk about some of the people that just missed our list once we get everybody's list done. But yeah, I think a lot of people would question us if we did this whole topic without mentioning Heath Ledger as the Joker.
Yeah.
So a good one to have on your countdown. Matt, what was your number 10?
My number 10, kind of a joke, but I still actually agree with it. It should be on the list. Was the U.S. Army from The Incredible Hulk. I don't want to say Tim Roth was the best or the guy from that one sitcom that was the general was the best, but I mean, I think that's the funny thing is it's you always look at superheroes and it's like, who's this guy's most iconic villain? Who's this guy's? The Hulk's most iconic villain is the U.S. government,
True.
Namely the Army, and so they kept pulling out all the stops in that movie. They're like, well, let's try Sonic Cannon, let's try Super Soldiers. So that's my number 10, the whole Army.
Matt gets bonus points for thinking outside the box.
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
my whole list. And if it allowed for animated and stuff, and if I had remembered the one that I'd forgotten, my whole list would have been entirely different than everyone else.
And just for people's reference, this doesn't have to be exactly from superhero films. We kind of opened it up to be from comic book films in general, or anything that could kind of be considered a supervillain. I guess I might be stretching some people's definition of that with my number 10, and I guess some people might see it also as a joke, but I seriously like the way they designed this character and the way it translated onto the big screen. And my number 10 is actually James Sato, actually voice of David Macharon, but it's Shredder from the original live-action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
That was my number 11.
I just like how they did that. I wasn't, being a fan of the Turtles and seeing the live action, I first of all wasn't disappointed with how they did the Turtles, but Shredder was the thing that they either were going to get right or it was going to be awful, and I just liked the shiny look of him. I liked the voice of him. I liked the way he was played, so I enjoyed Shredder from the original live action films.
Super menacing.
Yeah, so that was my number 10. Back to you, Nate, for your number 9.
Number 9, I had the Penguin from Batman Returns, played by Danny DeVito.
I very strongly considered him.
He did such a completely weird, portrayal of the Penguin. Super grotesque. Just a weird version of the Penguin that I really enjoyed watching.
I don't think there was anybody else at that time that they could have really cast to play the Penguin. It seems like Danny DeVito was the...
He was born to be the Penguin. But seriously, though, there's that one scene where he, bites a dude's nose off.
Oh.
That gave me nightmares as a kid.
That was kind of disturbing, I agree.
No joke.
That's to you, Matt, for your number 9.
My number 9 is definitely going with that pretty comic booky, not really superhero, which is Karl Ruprecht Korinen.
There you go.
Played by Ladislav Baron from the Hellboy movie. He was the one, the clockwork guy with swords and stuff.
That guy's awesome.
He was entirely silent the whole time. You could never tell whether he was alive or dead. He dies at one point, but he doesn't. But I loved the design of the character. I loved the feel. I know exactly what that type of character is. And he's Nazi super science done right, and I would love to see a character like that in the future.
Yeah. For some reason, I don't know why, because it probably has nothing to do with that character whatsoever, but all I could think about was the Blade character from Masters of the Universe when you said that. I don't know why. But I didn't even consider that guy for my list. Anyway, my number 9, I'm going to stick with the Marvel Universe on this one and go with Hugo Weaving's portrayal of the Red Skull. From Captain America 1, or the First Avenger. I don't know. I like Hugo Weaving. I think he plays a villain pretty well. And I thought the Red Skull was done decently well in that film. I wasn't really aware of any Captain America villains with my ignorance of comic book stuff. So that was my first introduction to that character, and I thought it looked pretty legit and pretty freaky, and Nazi guys that have no skin on their face are pretty scary. So, Red Skull from Captain America: The First Avenger. That makes it number 8 for Nate.
I have the Green Goblin from Spider-Man 1 by Willem Dafoe. Because it's Willem Dafoe, and he talked to himself in a mirror, and that was awesome.
That, again, was somebody that I had on my list originally until I counted my list and ended up with too many things. And I had to eliminate some people, and he got cut at the end. But I totally agree that he is worthy of being on a supervillain list. Matt, what about you for number 8?
My number 8 is Burgess Meredith, who played the Penguin in the 1966 Batman movie. Nice. I love the 1960s Penguin. He's like, wah! I love that sound. I just do it all the time. I love the gags with the penguin, the umbrellas. He shoots one down a hallway and it gasses a bunch of guys, and they fall and make teepees. It's great.
That is probably my favorite version of the Penguin. Actually, is probably that one.
I love the 1966 Batman movie, as I mentioned earlier in the podcast. And if I go wah,
now we know why.
Penguin number 8.
Why is he always making that weird noise? My number 8, I guess slightly out of the box maybe. Not everybody's put this guy on there, but I think he was a pretty chilling, convincing villain, and that was Stephen Dorff as Deacon Frost from the Blade franchise. I don't know, I just think he kind of had that young, cool, charismatic, but absolutely crazy and awful villain type thing going for him, and he wasn't afraid to, even attack his own people. So I don't know. I liked Stephen Dorff as Deacon Frost, so he made it as my number 8. You might not have liked Deacon Frost as much, Nate, because you're not reacting at all.
Wait, I'm confused. Wait, what movie is this from?
From Blade.
Oh God, yeah, I forgot.
Stephen Dorff when he was like the
no,
young...
I remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, the Blade movies so far haven't really struck my fancy.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
What was your number 7, Nate?
Number 7, I had Lucas Lee from Scott Pilgrim, played by Chris Evans. He was the evil X that was the movie star.
Okay.
You remember this?
Barely.
At all? Oh, come on.
Which is watched that in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
No.
I don't know. I really so like I really like Chris Evans, and then also he just played a really fun character in this. That's about it. That's my whole reasoning. He was fun to watch, and he did a really good job acting, sort of like super campy and kind of awesome.
Fair enough. Matt, number 7.
My number 7, I went with a person I can't pronounce the name of. Aunt J. Trahu, who played Faora in The Man of Steel.
Okay.
The female Kryptonian. I really liked. I don't know. I liked everything about her. I think she had that like beautiful but intimidating presence, and she would just fly around and punch a dude, and you'd be like, "Oh, that dude's dead." And she really brought to the screen what it would look like if Superman were evil. And so I really liked her, and so I put her on my list.
I agree with that inclusion 100%. I'm glad that somebody had her on the list because I thought she was one of the best things about that film. My number 7, Nate, I think you'll appreciate this one. My number 7 is going to be Samuel L. Jackson as the Octopus.
Nice. Awesome. I'm so glad he's on your list. Why?
He was just a badass, crazy villain in that film. And he did stuff that villains do that make your skin crawl and stuff. He was just evil. And Samuel L. Jackson plays a good bad guy.
Nice.
Even though he plays a lot of good guys, I think he's better as a bad guy. And I like the Octopus. That's one thing that stuck with me from that film in particular. So, yeah.
Cool.
Number 6, Nate.
I had the Joker from the 1966 Batman, the Cesar Romero version. I don't really need to explain myself too much. Cesar Romero is probably the most underappreciated Joker version.
Not on my list, he's not.
I need to watch 60s Batman stuff.
Matt, bring it over on Friday.
I'll bring it next week, yeah.
Nice. Number 6, Matt?
My number 6 is Sebastian Stan, who played the Winter Soldier in Captain America: The Winter Soldier. I wanted to put him higher, or lower, as it were, but I feel like you didn't get enough of him, and they kept saying in the movie, yeah, he's got this many confirmed kills, and he doesn't kill anyone that he's ever sent to assassinated. So for that reason, he's not, higher on the list. But I thought his performance was great. He did a great job, and it was very interesting. He really drove that movie.
I agree with that, too. I actually, in my first go-through, he was one of the people that had made it past the first round, and I was considering, but I think for kind of some of the reasons you said, I didn't include him ultimately, just because compared to some of these people, he didn't quite get enough time. But I think what really did it for me was the portrayal of that character, and the design and the look of that character, I just think was spot on, and convincing, and I just wish we would have got to see him be a badass more. But I have no problem with him being on anybody's list. My number 6, again, kind of blurring the lines maybe a little bit for what people would consider on this list, but I'm going to go with a character from 300, Rise of an Empire. I know a lot of people hate that film, but Ava Green as Artemisia was probably one of the best female badass villains I've ever seen. She just had kind of a combination or a balance of sexy / seductress, but also just ice cold killer. So she was probably the best thing about that film. So that's why I put her on my list. All right. So that brings us to number 5. Nate, what is your number 5?
Number 5 for me is super personal. I chose Casanova Frankenstein from the movie Mystery Men. played by Jeffrey Rush.
I know who Jeffrey Rush is.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
I've never seen Mystery Men.
What? I'm gonna see if we can get that for Friday with Batman because
man, it'd be the campiest. It would be the campiest Friday ever.
Sounds like all kinds of fun.
I googled, I didn't Google. I IMDb'd Mystery Men because I remember loving it. I remember loving the Great Houdini or whatever, the guy who throws things. But
the Blue Raja.
Blue Raja, and then I love Kel, the Invisible Boy or whatever. But like I couldn't remember the villain well enough. You know, I remember Jean Garofalo. I remember Ben Stiller. Like that movie's great.
Yeah, well, what I just liked about him is that he had like an army of different gangs, like the Red Eyes and the Disco Ones. I don't know what they were called, and it was just like super weird and fun. And then he was also just like a trickster dude because he like lied about shit. I don't know. It was good. It was a good movie. I liked it a lot.
Take your word for it.
We gotta watch that.
I'm all for it.
Cool.
But you don't have to take his word for it because we're gonna find it.
I own it. I believe I own it.
That makes
you own it.
I believe so. I'll have to check, but
even easier. Matt, what is your number 5?
My number 5 already been mentioned. Hugo Weaving's Red Skull from the Captain America: First Avenger.
Yeah, I'm not alone.
Yeah, I thought he brought a very interesting and very comic book style take to it. You know, like I love the rocket that's like a spinning rocket. It's like a rocket that goes up that has a spinning rocket that goes, you know, and the car. It just, and the people that are riding missiles, like it had a nice silly 40s feel to it, even in a very serious movie. And I liked his leading of it all.
Hugo Weaving is creepy enough as it is. I don't need him to then become the Red Skull and become even creepier.
I don't find him all that creepy. I mean, he's not super attractive. Although he kind of was as Agent Smith, actually. Like, you cover up his face, I can see him being attractive.
But I am all in support of people having people on the list that I already had because it just means we're right. I'm just kidding.
Well, that's probably the only one we're going to have in common from here on out.
All right. My number 5 is actually, I'm going to go to the Dark Knight trilogy and pick Cillian Murphy as the Scarecrow. Cool. Just because for me, that is the definition of creepy. He's an actor that can pull off creepy fairly easily. And I was actually somewhat disturbed by the character, the Scarecrow. Like, I didn't know anything about the character at all. Like, I'd never seen him in anything. And maybe I'm afraid of scarecrows, but I was disturbed by him. So if he moved me that much in the villain role, I thought I should put him somewhere in my list.
See, I unfortunately haven't watched the Batman Begins since like Dark Knight came out.
Oh, I thought you were going to say at all.
No, I have, but it's been
we were
so long.
Queue up another moment where.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like, it's good for 1 or 2 viewings, but when you get to the end and he's like, this will evaporate all of the water in Gotham, and I'm totally fine to stand next to it. Boop. Like, that whole bit really bothered me a lot.
Gotcha. I haven't actually seen it in a long time. I just remember being creeped out by him in general.
He did a good job of portraying Crane.
Yeah. So. All right. Nate, that means it's your turn for number 4.
I had Doc Ock from Spider-Man 2. Played by Alfred Molina. Again, I really like Spider-Man 2, and I just really liked Doc Ock a lot in that. And I guess probably the coolest part of him was how cool his actual arms were. They were like super puppeteered. It was really cool.
I don't like that character, but I thought he played it perfectly.
He played a bad character great.
No, I mean, he's just not my favorite villain. Like, I'm not big on him in general as a character, but I think if they'd found the perfect person to play it and it looked as good as it can probably possibly look, I would think. But, I mean, we'll obviously see since it looks like they're going to have a different version of Doc Ock coming up here eventually. But I don't know. That's a hard act to follow.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say the exact opposite. Is I really like Doc Ock and I wasn't impressed with that portrayal.
Huh.
I don't know. I just like the whole. They did it. They took the blame away from him. It's like now tentacles are controlling him. It's like that's dumb.
All right. Fair enough.
Well, then, what is your number 4, sir?
My number 4 is not going to be on anyone's list, and that is John Travolta.
John Travolta.
As Howard Saint in the Punisher movie. I'm not huge into the Punisher. I don't like. I'm not big into the heroes that kill, especially a Punisher, because he just goes around shooting people. That said, the first Punisher movie with John Travolta as the villain is perfect.
Wow.
They changed one thing from the original thing, which is when they moved it from New York to like LA or San Francisco. They moved it from one coast to the other. And other than that, it was a perfect retelling of the story. It was down pat. All of the acts were great. The supporting characters were amazing. Like, that's actually one of my favorite comic book movies, and I really don't have a reason to not own it.
Now wait a second.
What?
Do you only like it because it's true to the source material, or is it just
it's the source material, and it's a fun action movie? Like, he's not my favorite superhero character, but he does make for a good movie.
Okay.
But it is really true to the source, and that's a major plus for me.
I haven't seen it, but I would totally watch it now. I did not know it was good at all.
Watched it in theaters with Jimmy all those years ago.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've seen it since. It might not hold up, but I remember walking out of the theater going, wow, John Travolta played a really creepy villain, and that was a really good Punisher movie.
I can buy John Travolta in a lot of villainous roles. I always thought it was kind of weird when he played like the leading man or the hero, because I was like, he's a better villain.
That's the face-off for me. Like, first half an hour of face-off going, I don't believe John Travolta is the good guy, and I don't believe Nicolas Cage is the bad guy. And then all of a sudden it's like, snap. Oh, now we're good. Everything makes sense.
My number 4, I guess I don't really need to say much about it, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people would have that on their list. It's not too inventive or creative. I'm going straight to Jack Nicholson as the Joker. It's freaking Jack Nicholson. I shouldn't need to explain that, I don't think. I don't know, maybe you guys are more versed on Batman stuff. Maybe you don't like that version, but for me, that was like one of the first supervillains I can remember seeing in a movie. And I was just like, I don't know, I was buying it hook, line, and sinker.
I don't know. I think that one sucks. That being said,
that movie or that Joker?
That Joker. That being said, my number 3 is Jack Nicholson Joker.
You think it sucks when you put it in your top 10?
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, it was just weird. You like your number 4, and then my number 3 was the same exact one.
So you can probably give a better reason for why he's so good.
It's Jack Nicholson. I don't think I need to say any more about that. No. Dude, he just had so many memorable scenes. Like, watching that movie is so much fun. Watching him do crazy Joker stuff is great. Yeah, I don't know. My reasoning is just, it's fun to watch. That's pretty much, that's like my entire list is, I like it because it's fun to watch. There's really no...
if you were, before any of these movies that we've been mentioning had come out, if you just had like someone like pitching you the idea and you're like, okay, we're doing a superhero film and all we have so far is we've got Jack Nicholson's going to be the villain. Which villain would he be? Like, isn't Joker like the automatic answer? Like
any super villain.
But I mean, I feel like Joker is the one like that he is perfect for.
25 years ago, I think you're totally right. Nowadays, I don't know. But, I mean, back when that movie first came out, definitely. Now, I don't know. I mean, he's different than he was then.
Yeah, that's true. No, I kind of mean back then, but I just think that was the perfect villain choice for him. But Matt, what was your number 3?
My number 3, I'm going to break the mold, and I'm going to go with the Joker, played by Cesar Romero. I'm going to be a little bit different.
Joker.
I like his performance a little bit better than Jack Nicholson. He's a little less scary, which, I mean, there's so many different ways to play the Joker. I mean, that's why Nate's, well, you said Joker 3 times now.
Yes, that is the 3rd Joker on my list.
So, like, I mean, there's a different way to play the Joker, and every one of them is totally believable versus Batman. Like, you could take the Jack Nicholson Joker, throw him up against the the Christian Bale Batman, and it's still believable, even though he's so incredibly different from the other.
I don't know if you could take
Jokers.
Heath Ledger Joker and put him against Adam West.
I think that one would be the starkest contrast, but you could totally take the Cesar Romero Joker and throw him against Christian Bale. But I would pay to read that story, the Adam West Batman versus the other Joker. Like, he's like, why so serious? And it's like, you need to be less serious. You know, or like, I'm always serious against crime, Joker. Pow, zap. But like, I love his take on the Joker, and there's one moment in the 1966 movie where the Riddler's all like, we're gonna win! And then like, Joker's like, you need to calm down or Batman's going to find us. And it's like, did the Joker just have a sane moment against the Riddler? And it's just like, but I mean, all of his crazy schemes, like, we're gonna kidnap the Commodore, and I'm gonna pretend to be a shoreman. Like, it's so much fun, and it totally works as the Joker. He's got the seriousness, he's got the silliness, but he's still got a bit of seriousness when he needs it. Also, Cesar Romero is amazing in everything he does.
All right. My number 3, I don't know if people are going to think we're biased towards this character, but my number 3 is Joker as well. But since I already used Jack Nicholson, I'm backing him up right next to Heath Ledger as number 3. I don't know. I think he presented a different side of that character, or a different tone. Obviously, the whole Batman Begins Dark Knight trilogy is darker and grittier, and I think that would be more appreciated if a bunch of films haven't tried to mimic that sense. If they would have just let this kind of stand alone in that. But I don't know. I think he got the feel that they were going for in that movie downright, and I appreciated that role, and it's not just because he died. So, I don't know. I like his Joker just a touch better than Jack Nicholson's, but very, very close. You can all disagree with me.
Well,
I'm not gonna.
I
I don't think that he was my favorite Joker, but I mean, that's probably more the take and less the actor. He did a great job.
yeah.
All right, so no Joker allowed, Nate. What's your number 2?
I have no more Jokers on my list. Number 2, I had The Octopus by Sam Jackson in the Spirit.
Nice.
Again, super fun to watch. Amazingly like memorable scenes and stupid lines and fun antics that he did, you know, like just throwing toilets at people. I don't know. It's just a silly, great movie that I can never get enough of. It's one of my favorite superhero movies. Might be my favorite superhero movie. Even though I know that like historically it got panned and it made like no money at the box office, but whatever. I really enjoy it.
It's a fun film. And that's a fun character.
Yeah.
I saw it in theaters, so I mean, I gave it my money.
How do you feel about The Octopus?
I don't remember because I haven't seen it since theaters. I remember he had like a Tweedledee and Tweedledum, and I remember the Spirit being pretty well portrayed, though there were some slight changes to his visibility. But I liked those changes. They weren't for the worse.
Mm-hmm.
They went, with a more pulpy style.
Yeah.
I liked that movie when I saw it. I want to see it again. We should slate that up on the table if it's not.
We watched it already, but we can watch it again. I'll watch it again.
Okay.
Nathan will watch it anytime.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know he will.
All right, what's your number 2, Matt?
Just to show the differences between Nate and I, because there are very many, I also went with Sam Jackson as number 2. But I went with Mr. Glass from Unbreakable.
I was wondering if you would find a spot on anybody's list.
I wanted to, but then I was like, he's not superhero enough. Because I kept thinking like everyone should be up against a hero or a superhero or something, but...
Well, but he was. Like, I mean, it's one of those ones that you don't think of it as a comic book movie, but they mention comic books, and he's like, we always need our foil.
Yeah.
And, I mean, they had a lot of the elements, and he was a villain at the very least.
Yeah.
And, if his superpower is that he's made out of glass, then he got the bad end of the spectrum. Unbreakable is in my top 3 favorite movies of all time. I think he should have probably been number 1. The only reason I gave number 1 is to someone else's because I think that the other person did a better job of portraying the role that I wanted. But yeah, Mr. Glass, number 2, easily.
All right, my number 2. I don't know if we've had anybody from this entire franchise. Looking over, I don't think we have. My number 2, we're going to go to the X-Men franchise, and that would be Ian McKellen as Magneto. I think the playing off of Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart off of each other is just pure casting genius. I think Magneto, Ian McKellen as Magneto was the kind of the perfect foe for Xavier, and Ian McKellen's a great actor, so he did it very well. He can pull off the bad guy role very easily, I think. And I think across the board throughout that entire franchise, he's been pretty consistent as a pretty decent. I mean, I know at times he's not 100% bad or whatever, but he's pretty consistent, and I really enjoy his performance. So Ian McKellen, my number 2, and that means we only have room for one more each. What is your top villain, Nate?
Oh, I don't know if Matt's going to hate me for my top one because of how far they've gone away from the actual comic book, but my number 1 is the Mandarin from Iron Man 3.
Oh no, he was like on my list, but I removed him. Okay. I liked him. Yeah.
I loved like how they took, because the Mandarin isn't a good villain. He's never been a good villain. And in fact, Matt, you were saying that like every time they put him in a book, the sales drop or something like that.
Yeah,
but,
the guy who owns my comic book shop calls him the reverse Joker.
Right. But I love how they took whatever. They just made a completely original character for Iron Man 3, and how, I mean, you've seen Iron Man 3, all of you, yep. Obviously. Yeah. Okay. So just how like they completely turned what you thought it would be upside down towards like the midpoint, and he just ends up being like some actor that's like addicted to, drugs and stuff. Like, and it's Ben Kingsley, and Ben Kingsley is known for playing great villains, and this one it's like he's a villain, but he's like not really, because he just seems like a normal kind of guy that's like messed up. But I just love how they took the character and completely rethought it, and they tried to do something completely different with it, and I loved it.
I am fully supportive of everything you said there, but I also can't wait for people to sound off about that. Did people hate that or something? Yeah.
Really?
A lot of people had problems with it.
I don't care.
And I know we're gonna get posts. They're gonna be like, "He's not even a super villain. How could you put him on your list?" But I like it because
Iron Man 3.
I love that they did that with him. I love uniqueness, but Matt, maybe you have a different take.
If they had gone with the comic book Mandarin, people would be complaining significantly more. Because the comic book Mandarin, his superpower is he has 10 rings, and each one does one unique thing. And it's like, he's got like a disintegrator ray and a freeze ray on 2 rings, but then like one of them opens doors and the other one turns on his computer. It's like we gave him 10 rings, and then like by ring 8, like the writers were like, I don't know, door ring.
The thing about it, I was hearing someone talk about him, and they were like, they could just make the Mandarin now be the Mandarin if people are that upset, because they can just give him rings.
Yeah.
And it would be the Mandarin.
Yeah.
Well, they did that. Have any of you seen what do they call it? The short or the little quick film that they did of him in jail?
No.
Okay. It was on I'm going to get this wrong. Maybe on the Thor 2 DVD, or maybe it's going to be on the Captain America one or whatever, but they did a spot of following Ben Kingsley's character as he went into jail. I don't know how long it is, but it kind of hints that there's more to him that we haven't seen. So I thought I haven't seen it, but I'd be interested to see exactly how
are they doing an Iron Man 4?
Oh, they gotta be.
I don't know. I haven't heard anything about Iron Man 4, but I think those films make a lot of money, so...
I mean, they're trying to do only 2 a year, so, I mean, Iron Man 4 is probably not until, like, 2017.
Yeah, that's 2025 or something.
Okay.
I got to get another Hulk in there somehow. Matt, your top of your list.
My number one, totally for performance and doing exactly what I want this character to do on the big screen. I'm going with Kevin Spacey as Lex Luthor from Superman Returns. I've seen, in the last year, I've seen every Superman movie made in the last 30 years or whatever, and he does that role perfectly. I love Kevin Spacey in almost everything he does, and him as Lex Luthor is great. All of the bits are great. I love that movie. Personally, I have very few problems with it, and I think he did perfectly. That's my number one.
A lot of people hate that movie, right?
A lot of people.
I have not seen it yet.
I avoided it because I have no interest in Superman, but now that I've seen like Man of Steel and some of this other stuff, I feel like I need to go back and watch. Like we watched the original first movie of Superman with Christopher Reeves. I'd like to finish that off and then eventually see Superman Returns. But just kind of growing up, I'd always had little to no interest in Superman as a character. But I do think that Kevin Spacey was good casting for that. I can see him in that role.
Paid more than Gene Hackman.
Yeah, definitely. All right, my number one, I think we would probably get a lot of hate mail if he hadn't ended up on somebody's list somewhere. And I will be 100% predictable with this pick, but I'll give a mention to Tom Hiddleston as Loki.
Okay.
Just because...
I think he was number 12 for me.
Okay. Just because, I don't know, like, if you think about what the Marvel Universe has done with I'm not talking about X-Men, Spider-Man, etc., but if you're just looking at the Avenger movies, they haven't always done even though they haven't really missed on a movie, they've made pretty much all good movies, but they haven't hit the villain on the head every single time yet. They've had some villains that have missed the mark or not been quite as good. And to me, Loki was really kind of the glue behind that first wave of Marvel films. And I think he was the perfect choice to have in the Avenger film. And Tom Hiddleston is just a good actor. And he steals most of the scenes that he's in. So I don't really have anything bad to say about him. I think he's been one of my favorites to watch. What do you think, Nate?
Yeah, I think I agree with that. He's definitely, in the Thor movies, he's definitely the reason why you watch a Thor movie. But I don't know. I was going to put him on my list, but then I was kind of like thinking back to all of the scenes in him, and they just weren't as memorable as, whatever. As some of the other people on my list. I don't know. For some reason, it just didn't stick with me as much as the other ones.
Fair enough. What do you think of Loki, Matt?
I really like Tom Hiddleston, and I'm very pleased with some of the things they've done with him. I have nothing negative to say. I think he probably would have been my number 12 as well.
I think we had a lot of variety on our list, not just Marvel, not just DC. We have a variety of things outside of those worlds, a lot of Jokers, but definitely some variety there. I just wanted to get a quick discussion or quick mentions of some people that might have just missed your list. I can start because I originally had basically 18 people the first time through, and then I kept kind of cutting it down. And you've mentioned some of them, Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin, Danny DeVito as Penguin, the Winter Soldier. You guys all have mentioned those during your list. I also think that I somewhat liked Rebecca Romijn Stamos as Mystique. If I was trying to find another female outside of the couple that we mentioned, I think she's in the running. And I also liked Mickey Rourke as Whiplash. Not as much as a bunch of these other ones. That's why he didn't make my list, but I considered him for a second. I also considered Liam Neeson as Ra's al Ghul just because I love Liam Neeson. So why not think about him for a minute? And I actually appreciated Michael Shannon as General Zod in Man of Steel, even though everybody hated that film. So those are some that I considered that I didn't quite put on the list. What about you, Nate?
My list was a lot shorter. Like I immediately went to all the ones that I wanted. I had a couple that I left off. The only ones I can actually remember were the Shredder, and I actually had the Super Shredder, not just Shredder, but and then Loki.
Okay.
Those were the two that I remember.
Gotcha. Did you have any that just missed the list there, Matt?
Yeah, a couple. One thing I want to say, and this is totally not on you. This is on Christopher Nolan for bad direction. But his name's actually pronounced Raish.
Okay.
It's R-A''S. It's Middle Eastern. So it's like, you look at it, it's like Raz. Why not?
Gotcha.
But that's not how it's supposed to be pronounced. They did it wrong in that movie.
Nope.
Anyway, I had Zod as a possible. The two that neither one of you mentioned, one of was Mr. Freeze, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Batman and Robin. Because who doesn't love ice puns?
Chill
Also,
out.
I don't know. I kind of like his performance in that movie. I wasn't super impressed with Uma Thurman. I need to rewatch it because in my mind he did a really good job. And then the final one would be Professor Bedlam, played by Eddie Izzard in My Super Ex-Girlfriend. That was my number 11. That's a comedy, but it's superhero based, and that's where Uma Thurman did a better job acting. I really like that movie. I caught it one day on cable. Like, I was just like hanging out at my parents' place. I was flipping through the channels, and I just ran into it right as it was starting, and I watched the whole thing. I was like entranced. It was, I like day-to-day superhero stuff, and that's exactly what it was.
All right. Well, a bunch of interesting choices there from all of us, I assume, that people will be interested to see what we came up with, and we'd like to hear what your favorite supervillains are, so feel free to post on the website and give us what your number one or your top 3 or top 5 supervillains would be, and which ones do you disagree with big time from our list, and which ones do you agree with. Any other thoughts on the list in general, Nate?
No, I don't know. I got none.
Got nothing? Matt, what do you think of our selection overall?
I like it. I'm glad that there was a lot of diversity between us, that we weren't just the same 10 things done over in different directions.
We didn't just list every villain from the Marvel Universe
Yeah.
or the Batman Universe. All right. So as far as coming attractions for this next week, some Blu-rays and DVD releases that you may or may not be interested in. As far as films from last year go, the combo pack is coming out. So if you missed Her, that came out right towards the end of the year, that was Dan and I's, both of our picks for the best movie of the year. That comes out on Blu-ray this week, so you can pick that up. Outside of that, Stalingrad on 3D, that was kind of a very limited release in theater, but that's coming out on Blu-ray as well. And I guess if you're old school, maybe you'd like the Crocodile Dundee 2 double feature on Blu-ray. Anything on that list that you guys are going to run out and buy?
No.
I don't have the list out in front of me, actually.
Then that's a no. As far as go ahead.
They've got the Oceans trilogy collection.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, like, the thing that bothers me is that I can go to Walmart and get all 4 Ocean's 11 movies,
Right.
including the original one with the Rat Pack, which, if you ask me, was the best one of the 4. I'd say having only seen like 3 of them.
I missed a couple too, because I, Frankenstein was from, I believe, last year. That's coming out.
Was that last year, or was that just January?
That was like...
That might have
was
been
like
January.
3 months ago, yeah.
They're hoping to make a couple dollars since they made no money in the theaters on that. And I also missed a triple feature pack, Flushed Away, Chicken Run, and Wallace and Gromit.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So, something for the animation fans out there. And as far as theater stuff you might want to spend some money on, might not. A few films that we've talked about. Obviously, the big one this week is Godzilla, coming out in 3D, 2D, IMAX, everything. So you can see that starting Thursday. $1 Million Arm, the baseball film's coming out, and then a few that we talked about the trailers of recently: Half of a Yellow Sun, The Immigrant. But I would assume if people are going to the theater this week, they're probably going to see either a film that's already been out or they're going to see Godzilla. Nate, anything on that list that interests you that you want to see eventually?
I do want to see Godzilla.
Just not as much as Matt.
No, Matt really wants to see it.
Everybody I've talked to really wants to see that.
I don't know. Like, I'm not the biggest Godzilla fan, and so far the trailers haven't really sold me on it yet, but I do want to see it.
I mean, it clearly looks like it's going to be done better than any Godzilla film has ever been done before, as far as the visual effects go.
Okay.
Yeah.
which is obviously what you expect since it's later on and etc. Matt, did you like the 90s or early, what was it, 96, 98 version?
I thought it was 99.
That could be.
I always call it Godzilla 2000 because I think it came out in 99 and then had a TV show in 2000. But I did not enjoy. Like, I was a kid then. I mean, that was 15 years ago.
Right.
That's over half my life. And so I don't remember it very well. I remember it being like, he looks weird. He's got a long face. I don't know. And also, I think he lived in the subway, which didn't make any sense. But I could be wrong about that.
Nothing in the movies made any sense.
Yeah. I wasn't super impressed with that one. I was a fan of Godzilla later in life. Like, when I turned like 18, 19, I watched like a half dozen Godzilla films and fell in love with the character. That might have even been my first exposure to Godzilla. I do not like it. But I hope they have some of the silly campiness in this movie. Like, I hope he puts another monster in a headlock and punches his face, or
see, I think that's why I'm not interested in it, is because they're going to do it way too serious, and like it looks really like this is what would actually happen if a giant monster, and it's like, yeah, but like, come on, it's a giant monster, it's a guy in a suit half the time.
Yeah. I hope they have some cheese, some cameo, some campiness, something to give me a little bit of a hint to the old movies. Because I mean, there's one movie where Godzilla literally gets a running start and jumps like a mile, just perfectly horizontal until he kicks something with his tail dragging against the ground, and it's just like, yeah, do it, Godzilla. So I mean, if they don't do something campy, I'm gonna be upset with that movie. But I mean, I like Elizabeth Olsen ever since I saw Old Boy. She was the best part of that movie. So hopefully we get more of her, and I hope Godzilla helps her.
All right. Well, looking at last week's question as far as some credit conversation, we asked what the choice would be for the other member of the Sinister Six. Freddie Savage, our super fan there, mentioned Mysterio. Let's see, who else did we have? Some general comments, but
a lot of hate.
Yeah, a lot of hate on Spider-Man in general. Shocker. Justin Washington had mentioned him. Kraven the Hunter got mentioned. And let's see, Mysterio again, Kraven again. So those seem to be the most common ones. And then Jeremy Fain, Scorpion. So those were the names that got mentioned. And we obviously gave our answer to that as far as what we would want to see. And the question for next week, we already said, give us your favorite supervillains of all time. Give us your number one, or if you want to do a list like we did, 1, 3, 5, 10, however many you want to do. But which ones did you like, and which ones on our list do you think were terrible that shouldn't have been there, or which ones do you agree with, and all that jazz. All right, so I think that does it for this week. Thanks, as always, for joining us here on MWIRE Weekly. You can call the voicemail line 502-526-5821. You can visit the website, geekcastradio.com, and just find the MWIRE Weekly post and then click on that and get involved in the discussion. You can search us out on Facebook. Twitter is @GeekCastRadio. Mine is @OptimusSolo. Nate's is
Adolfo Shabadoo.
And Matt's
@FridleySent.
All right, that's it for us. And remember, for all things movies, keep tuned to MWIRE Weekly.